Yo, what's up, everybody? It is Wednesday, September 11th, a somber day. 23 years ago, on this day, the United States suffered its most brutal terrorist attack ever. 3,000 people were innocently murdered. I was down there that day in Wall Street. I saw most of it happen from the second plane hitting the tower to the South Tower coming down, and then I was running uptown. And the memory will be indelibly etched in my brain. I will never be able to forget about that. And every year I will commemorate this day. I think it should be made a national holiday. You know, my father was New York City firefighter, but he died in 1998, so he didn't see what happened on 9/11. But I got to tell you that growing up, and especially when I started my career on Wall Street, I kind of felt like almost, in a snobby way that I was better than my dad because, I went to Ivy League school. He had a high school education. Then I'm working on Wall Street. I had seats on the exchange and stuff like that. But after 9/11, that all changed for me. And I realized that when those firefighters, those 343 firefighters and many more ran into those burning buildings to save people, walking upstairs, 60, 70, 80 flights to try to help people and then ended up losing their lives. And the cops too, man, but those are real heroes. Those are real heroes. And we don't celebrate them enough. I mean, they're just blue collar working guys doing their job. And when the shit hits the fan, they're there trying to help us out. And, we need to show more appreciation and respect. And my attitude about my father, and he had already passed away by 9/11. I didn't get to tell him that, but I just realized how trivial all this other shit is. Look, it's great making money, and if you can make money and take care of yourself and your family, or do something to help other people, that's fantastic. But we get all caught up in this monetary pursuit, this making money, and we forget about the real people out there on the front lines doing this stuff, the first responders, the cops, the firefighters. I mean, the nurses, doctors, stuff like that. People who are everyday lives, taking care of people or risking their own lives to try to save or help or protect. I mean, it's really something. Anyway, today was, let me just, before I get into today's market, let me just say this, that I must be, and this is a little political commentary. I don't like to do this a lot because, it gets all you guys riled up. But I must be the worst judge of debates in the world. I have to be. Because I watched some of it last night. I watched the beginning, about the first half hour, because I got to go to sleep. I wake up very early and I go to the gym and then I go boxing. But anyway, I watched about a half hour and I thought flat out that Trump destroyed her. And I went, because he went after her, pointing out the fact that she has no economic plan, really. We're going to make things better. Basically stealing his slogan, make America great again. She didn't lay out how she was going to do that. She had 3.5 years in office with Biden to get that done. They didn't do anything, basically. He talked about the border being overrun with migrants that is getting out of control now. We don't even know who's coming across. It could be more of these jihadists. In fact, it is more of these jihadists. Funny thing is, today, there's stuff on the internet showing that the Palestinians were cheering and celebrating on 9/11, and they were doing that from afar in 2001. They're doing that now here in the United States. They're here now and marching and protesting and waving Palestinian and Hamas flags and all that stuff. So, I mean, they're here, okay? And that jihadism is not going to go away. And if anything, it's going to spread. So I thought Trump won, and then I wake up universally panned, universally everybody's saying that he got destroyed, he got emasculated. You know, she was so on point. I thought she had that stupid giggly face. I thought she looked nervous. You know, she was looking at him the whole time instead of looking at the camera as if she's talking to people. I don't know. I must be a terrible judge. I probably am. I am. I'm a terrible judge of this kind of stuff. I thought he won. You know, full disclosure, yes, I'm gonna vote for him. I don't like the Democrats' policies. I don't like, you know, what the Biden administration has been doing. The other thing he said, like, we weren't in war. You know, with Biden and Harris, we got the Ukraine war, we got Hamas, Israel, we got so much stuff going on. It's, you know, we're this close to World War III. I mean, it was just safer. I think it was safer. I think the economy was better. I thought he won. I'm obviously a terrible, terrible judge of that kind of, you know, debate style or whatever you want to call it. So let's see what happens. I mean, now, you know, it's less than 2 months to the election. So let's see what happens. Anyway, let's talk about the market. Today, the market was another one of these hilarious days for me. And I sent out an email early this morning to my subscribers when the market, we came out with that CPI print, which was a little bit hot. The core was up 0.3%. They were looking for 0.2% in the forecast. And right away, what happened was the monetarist zombies, they jumped all over the market. They sold the Dow down 600 something points. And I sent out an email saying, this is a ridiculous, hysterical overreaction, and it's going to bounce back. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And, you know, the point I was trying to make is that these people expose themselves every single time. And if you haven't caught on by now with the videos that I do every time these sort of things happen and I explain, or the way they're understanding, you know, I always talk about the single variable understanding, which they leave out a whole separate size of a balance sheet. They basically don't understand accounting. And this goes to the highest levels of Wall Street. It goes to the highest level of academic economics. So like last week, it was all about, oh, the economy's slowing down. And then now they were like discounting the whole rate cut thing, and they were selling the market because the economy was slowing down. Now all of a sudden they get a print, which is 0.1% off what the forecast was. And they went completely hysterical crazy, and they sold the market down like crazy. All right. If you can't see that this is total manic, emotional, hysterical, irrational behavior. It's based on nothing. It's based on just what are we going to do today when a certain headline pops up. I mean, this is not an outlook. This is not analysis. This is not understanding. This is not, you know, knowledge. This is nothing. This is just pure. These people are literally handing you their money on a silver platter. They're just saying, here, take the money, because every time when we act, it's going to be in a completely emotional, hysterical fashion. And I don't know anyone who has profited over the long term, who has been successful, at least in the financial sense, or maybe in any sense, where their behavior is completely irrational and hysterical and emotional all the time. I mean, you're a basket case. You're a total basket case. I mean, forget about MMT, forget about any kind of an analytical process. And I've said this in the past. If you just go against that kind of behavior, like over time, it's almost a mathematical certainty that you're going to come out ahead. I mean, you have to fade people who are completely emotional and hysterical and have no kind of grounding in understanding of what they're doing. Everything is a knee-jerk, reflexive, emotional reaction. And then after that happens, they try to rationalize it somehow or curve fit it into their understanding, which, you know, understanding in quotes, because it's not an understanding. It's a total and complete lack of understanding. So we had that today, and that's nothing new. I'm just saying, you know, we kind of like, that kind of went away for a while. and there was a focus on other things, right? There was a focus on AI and NVIDIA. That kind of fizzled out, so they had to look for something else. So then it was the slowing economy. And okay, they got bored with that. So now we're back to the interest rate thing. And by the way, there was no change in the markets with respect to the probability of a rate cut next week. We're still going to get a 25 basis point rate cut. All right. And I mean, like, take your guess on the reaction there. I happen to think like we'll get initially a positive reaction off of that. But I've been telling you guys, that's when everything changes. Next week is when everything changes. Not dramatically at first, but financial, fiscal, monetary conditions change for the first time in, what was it, like 6 years since the last rate cut or something like that? 7, 8 years, something like that. That's going to be a point in time that we have to mark, because we go into a different fiscal monetary paradigm at that point, okay? Up until now, the last 2.5 years, it's been rate increases and sustained at high rates. And now we're going to go into this rate cutting cycle, which I keep repeating, you know, that is the removal of these interest income transfers, or at the very least, a slowdown in these interest income transfers. We got more fiscal drag coming up in 2025, unless it is addressed by whoever gets elected and whoever is in control of Congress. Okay, we'll have to see what's going on with that when the time comes. The other thing I hardly ever mention in these videos for the past couple of days or weeks is the fact that Congress has to come up with a continuing resolution by the end of this month. Otherwise, there's a government shutdown. And not to mention the fact, I haven't included, but it's still a ways away, January 1st, 2025, they got to raise the debt ceiling, okay? Because the current debt ceiling situation, where it's suspended, they have to do something by January 1st, 2025. So you got the rate cuts, you got potentially this government shutdown coming, you got a tax strain, but that's normal. That's just a cyclical thing. The tax strain coming up next week. You got the continuing resolution, I said, has to be passed. You got January 1st, 2025, which they have to raise the debt ceiling. You have a smaller increases in the COLA for Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, veterans benefits, military pay, etc. You have the expiration of the Trump tax cuts. I mean, I'm spelling all this out for you. I'm laying it all out. To me, that is not a particularly bullish scenario. I've been saying now over and over again that this year, this fiscal year, we've had $1 trillion in interest income transfers into the economy, and the economy is growing at 2%. Now you're going to start shaving that off. You're going to start taking some of that away. Okay, so I just don't see robust growth in the economy coming up. And that's just with the rate cuts, not to mention these other bumps in the road, if you want to call them that are going to be coming up, at the rest of this year and into next year. So that's the story. For me, it's more cautious, the outlook. I'm keeping my powder dry, as the market comes down. And by the way, recession, some have asked me, well, how do you know when to buy in a recession? You know when to buy in a recession when you start to see the automatic stabilizers kicking in. But, we're a long way from that. My recession call is just, a probabilistic call right now. I'm not saying it's 100%, because I'm saying it could be a policy response in whatever new administration there is. But I definitely see a growth slowdown, and that's going to be enough to affect stocks in a negative way. So anyway, that's it. 9/11, folks. Please like and subscribe. And if you haven't done so, go to my website and sign up for a 30-day free trial to MMT Trader. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.